friends, now is the time to start your 2021 garden. And I can't think of a better year to start growing your own food than this year. And there's so many different reasons on why you should grow your own food. Like, for starters, the food, it tastes better. And it doesn't have to be sitting on shelves for weeks or months. When you can go and harvest your own food from your garden, there's nothing like it. Like being able to taste something that's ripe, that's fresh. It just tastes so good, and you're getting the maximum amount of nutrients from that food. And on top of that, food security. Our food security is really unstable right now on an individual scale as well as on a bigger scale, national and global. Even here in the United States, with people losing, businesses closing this past year, people losing their jobs, more and more people are going hungry. Here in the United States, food banks are feeding over 50 million people right now. That's a lot of people. And this past year, we have seen grocery store shelves empty like I have never seen before. And on top of that, you have, with government mandates, if you don't follow certain things like having things injected into you, then you might not have the ability to be able to go to the grocery store, buy what you need, groceries and things like that, for you and for your family. And that is not good. That's evil. That reminds me of a Bible verse in Isaiah chapter 5 verse 20 when it says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." Not being able to get the things that you need for yourself and for your family, that's evil, that's wrong. So, just something to think about. And here on this channel, on a regular basis, I try to encourage you guys to grow. Wherever you are, do what you can to grow something, even if it's just in your kitchen window. If you don't have an area to grow it in a garden, in the ground somewhere, grow in your window or grow out on your patio. Or if you have those areas, maybe make a raised bed or do something outside. But start growing something, and then also connect with others who are growing. Because our food system is so unstable and so fragile, it could easily collapse. And I want you guys to be able to have the things you need, and you need to be able to start doing things to secure and make sure that that can happen for you and for your family. So as you're thinking about 2020, start planning your garden right now. Think about the areas that you can grow in, whether it be outside. Go ahead and plan that area out. Think about the size that you want your garden to be. Whether it be outside in the garden, mark that area out, or whether it be a raised bed or in a grow bag or something like that. Start thinking about those things. And then as you're doing that, if it's outside, be thinking and watching as these rainier, wetter months are having rain, watch where that water is flowing to see how you would be able to grow things and to see if that water would affect those areas. And one of the things that I've had to deal with in the past with having a sloped property and working with that with my garden is too much water. So sometimes if you have water that is flowing in the area that you're trying to grow in, you may need to make trenches and things like that and raise the soil up to divert the water away from your garden, because it's so frustrating to have planted your seeds or your plants and then just get so much rainfall that it just floods them out and you lose them. So you don't want to do that. So once again, the first thing to do is to plan where your garden is going to be. And the next thing is to plan what you grow. Look at your inventory. And speaking of that, let's go look at our inventory. And this here is our grow room, and this is where we store our seeds as well as we start our plants and grow things like microgreens. But it also right now is where we are doing some food storage here. Ideally, it would be great if the room, we had a different area to store our food as well as to store our seed, just because with the grow shelf here, we need to keep the room between 70 and 80 degrees depending on what we're starting and what plants we're germinating. But it is what it is right now, because you want your seeds to be stored in a dry, cool, dark place. And I even was recommended to us at Baker Creek that they should be in a freezer. So we're looking to add one of those on here to the homestead here soon, hopefully, where we can transport our seed library here into the freezer. Earlier I mentioned about thinking about where you're going to grow your food and planning that out. Another thing with that is thinking about whether you're going to start your seeds indoors or you're just going to do a direct sow outside. I really enjoy starting them indoors. That way we can control the germination rate a little bit better and actually control putting the plants where we want them to grow. It just really maximizes things, I feel, a lot, and I really recommend starting your seeds indoors if you can. And you can do a simple system like this in your house or a separate area and just get a wire shelf that you can purchase anywhere from $50 to $100, and then just get you regular old shop lights with the T8 bulbs. That's all you need. You don't need special grow lights for that. And each one of these, I believe, is $20 for the shop light, and then you get a box of your T8 bulbs here. And I want to say those are around $20, but don't quote me on that for sure. But you can get those at your local hardware store. But back to the seed library. How I have my sections divided up is I have them by greens here at the top, roots here, and then my fruiting plants here, and then we also have our flowers in there. So right now we have a ton of greens, which is good. A lot of the different greens that I want. So we're good on that. So I'll be going through, looking through what we have, gradually seeing what we need more of. And I encourage you guys to start your own library and seed storage system as well. So that way you kind of know what you have, and then you're able to have surplus, and so that way you're not without. So because like I mentioned before about our food security, also our postal service could go down or whatever, and maybe these companies aren't allowed to ship seeds anymore. So that's something to keep in mind of as well, that you're making sure that you have seeds on hand for you and for your family. I even heard from a number of sources this year that a number of stores, like your big box store, I'm not going to mention the specific one by name, that remained open through everything, that they, in the springtime, when everyone's looking to buy seeds, that they pulled the seeds off the shelf. I don't know why they did that. I have my own personal thoughts, but that made it so that people couldn't buy seeds. Well, next I'm going to browse through here and see which seeds I need more of, and then we'll head back inside and I'm going to explain to you guys where you can purchase your seed from. Collards. Alrighty, so once you have your seed inventory done, and for some of you, you may not have an inventory on hand at all. Hey, and that's okay. And for those of you like me that does, even the seeds that you have on hand, you want to think about replacing those, because seeds don't last forever. So if you have grown things and you have seed for them on hand, and you want to continue to grow those seeds, think about replacing them. So right now we're going to sit down after we've done our inventory and go ahead and make a wish list of seeds that we want. And since I did an inventory in there, I wrote down seeds that I need to replace. And I'm also going to put some seeds in here, down here on paper to order that, hey, we haven't tried before. And for purchasing your seeds, I really recommend, if you're going with heirloom seeds, and we go with heirloom seeds for what I like to call our fruiting vegetables. And those include like your tomatoes, your peppers, your melons, cucumbers, things like that. I really like to get those heirloom seeds, and I get them from Baker Creek, and I really love this Baker Creek catalog. And I like having a physical copy. You can go and look at a lot of their seeds on their website, but the catalog has even more. It's even something that is just really colorful. You can just sit down and browse through, and I really like it, just having something tangible and physical to look at. And I've been browsing through this a little bit already, and one of the things that I haven't grown before, but one of the things that stands out to me that I'm going to be adding to my wish list is this wasabi arugula right here. it looks really neat. And it says that it has 10 times as much vitamin C as the common arugula. So double the reason to grow the wasabi arugula. So there's some other things in here, but I really recommend, they have a full catalog, which this one is, and it just has so much in here. And it also has they've added a number of neat things to the catalog here that I really like, such as they also have recipes in here now of different things of, hey, maybe you see something in here that looks really neat, but you have no idea how to use it. They've actually provided some recipes for some of those things in here, as well as they provide some history from where a lot of these things originate from, so that you actually know that there's a tradition behind the things that you're growing, and can connect it with real people that lived in the past, and that these seeds have been passed on and preserved and saved. It's pretty amazing. And we've been growing things for over 10 years now and purchasing from various different companies, and I must say Baker Creek is our favorite, and it's so neat just to see that they have so much. And once I started growing and learning about heirloom varieties and all the different colors and varieties that are out there, I was like amazed. Like potatoes, who would have thought that there were purple and blues and all kind of different colors from all over different parts of the planet? It's pretty amazing. And that applies to so many different other crops as well. So for your heirlooms, I highly recommend Baker Creek, and their website is rareseeds.com. For your bulk seed, and what I consider bulk seed is when you're just buying, you need a lot more than just a packet. When you're buying from Baker Creek, most of the time they just have it in packets, but sometimes you need a lot more. And for when I'm growing things like microgreens, I really need bulk seeds. And when I'm growing greens like lettuces, I really need a lot. So I recommend Todd's Seeds, and I'll leave these links in the show notes below for Baker Creek, which is rareseeds.com, and Todd's Seeds below, and the other ones that I'm getting ready to mention. But they have organic seed, and you can buy bulk in a really good price. So I recommend Todd Seeds as well. And you can also check out your local hardware store or your local ag store. Sometimes they have it where you can buy seeds in bulk too, and it can save you a lot of money. But one of the things to look out for with purchasing from the local hardware stores or the ag stores is a lot of times they're not organic, so that's something to look out for. And then there are times when you want to buy specialty seeds that maybe Baker Creek doesn't have it, or maybe your local hardware store doesn't have it. I recommend, like one of the things that I like to grow, and we have grown in the past, is Salanova lettuce, and we've gotten them in the past from Johnny Seeds. But there's also another company called High Mowing that I am going to start trying their seeds, because they said that their easy leaf lettuce is very similar to the Salanova lettuce. So that's something I'm planning to try this year as well. And then you also want to think about maybe doing some, like if you're a prepper or into just storing seeds long term, there's some companies like My Patriot Supply that you could also get some seed storage kits from. So that link is in the show notes below as well. So I'm going to be sitting down here and going through this here for the next few minutes. And when I'm putting together my seed wish list, or seeds that I plan to purchase, I like to break it down into 6 sections. So that's basically all the crops and things that we grow outside, putting those each within 6 groups or 6 categories. And those categories are greens, and that consists of lettuces, Swiss chard, spinach, kale, collards, things like that. And one of my favorite ones that we just started growing this year, and it's from Baker Creek, is the baby bok choy. It is super productive, and the last batch that we grew, I got at least 4 cuttings, if not 5. So I really recommend adding that to your seed wish list. Other categories are microgreens, roots, and the roots crops are usually things like beets and radishes and turnips and carrots. And then also fruit crops, how I like to categorize them, and that's your tomatoes, as I mentioned earlier, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, things like that. As well as herbs is another category, and flowers. So when you break them down in that category, it kind of helps you just kind of brainstorm. At least it helps me to brainstorm and think about, hey, what are my needs here? Okay, write it down. And then when I go to order, I can say, hey, I got everything I need right here within each of the categories that I have. So we placing our order here pretty soon, and now is the time that we are starting our plants. We start our lettuces at this time, and we typically start things like our tomatoes and peppers at this month, during the month of January as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we use our grow room and start our seeds indoors. And for starting them indoors, I am a huge fan of the Bootstrap Farmer seed trays, and I recently just got some of their new products in, and let's check those out. And right here is our shipment that just came, so let's go ahead and open it right up. See what we got in here. So we got a humidity dome here, and this humidity dome goes right on top of the 10-20 trays, and that really helps with germination, especially with things like basil and peppers, things that need to have a little bit more heat and humidity. So I highly recommend those. And these are some of their smaller individual cells here, actually larger ones. I've really been needing some of these. So we have these, and these work in conjunction with the 10-20 trays here. So these will just stack right up right inside there, and you can go from there. So what I like to do with things like tomatoes, I start them in like the 64 or 128 cell tray plugs, and then we'll transplant them into bigger trays or bigger cells like this, and then we'll transplant them again out in the field or in the greenhouse. Well, actually this plug here goes into your 10-20 tray. So these cells right here actually go right in there just like that. And one of the things I like about Bootstrap Farmer is they have all these different neat colors. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, now is the time to start your 2021 garden. Plan where your garden is going to be, if you haven't already, where you're going to be growing your food, whether it's outside or in a container or a raised bed or even in your kitchen window. And plan what seeds, what things you want to grow. And then go ahead and put your seed order in. Start now. I know some of you have been on the fence saying, oh, I need to grow something. I need to do this. And you're watching all these YouTube videos, but you're not actually doing something. Start growing something now. Keep in your mind and in your heart the things that I've said in this video, and start, because you're going to be providing healthier, more nutritious food for you and for your household. And you never know. There might come a time where you can't go to the grocery store for a certain period of time and get the food that you need. And in growing your own food, you could be increasing your personal food security. So think about it, take it to heart, and get your grow on.